Certainly on the individual level, like in terms of my spiritual practice, it is the case that suffering is the teacher fundamentally. Suffering reveals to me the ways in which I'm clinging and the ways in which I'm not seeing clearly, as long as I have faith that suffering can be resolved. And I
Mm.
wonder the degree to which that's also true for the collective. And indeed, I think it's true in my experience with like organizational design and living in and um, designing communities. It's like anything where there is suffering, there's some kind of opportunity for healing, for holing, for deeper understanding. That dissonance and tension is exactly that which, properly met, reveals more integrity and harmony and truth.
Yeah.
And so, depending on how uh, broken our sensors are as individuals or as a collective, there might need to be much more. We might need to upregulate the signal of suffering in order for us to actually reconstellate ourselves.
Well, that's where I was going with the whole birthing thing. So it was like this sense of almost like having to train to put effort in because there was, just as an
Mm,
analogy, that's like the
mm,
it's like that wasn't required. So it's a sense of
mm.
maybe it's not, yeah, I'm not the dynamics of how that works. I'm not, you know, how much effort the mother puts in versus the child. I'm sure it's both.
I think I do though want to say like it seems to be the case, and I see this at Maple, um, that people tend to be either motivated by their suffering or they're motivated by compassion, by longing and love and a desire to be of service. Like so they're and I see that also just in people's stories. Like some people, most people probably enter the path, so to speak, because of some suffering. But there are others who it's purely a curiosity and longing and like passion and eros that opens them and that
Hmm.
like kind of is the doorway. So it
Yeah,
does seem that there's at least those two. Uh, yeah.
it's an interesting thing mentioning doorways and bridges because I'm just there's I know there's kind of a space of interest there, and there seems to be what you said earlier about this. It seems to be like a desensitization on multiple different levels, and the process of doing like that bridging or even that seed sprouting
Hmm.
is an interesting thing for me. Maybe before people have even gotten to Maple, because I'm sure you've had many experiences with many people um, on this part of your journey, and I've got a curiosity around doorways or bridges into this space from a desensitized standpoint. And
Totally.
I know you mentioned suffering and compassion, um, and there's almost, it seems as though in 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 one sense it's almost like everyone's going on their own journey through that, and it's like not really up to anyone to you know um, do anything about it in a way.
Hmm.
But then that that doesn't seem completely right because it's not like the things. It's like we have agency, and there's a sense of maybe creating fertile soil and you know handing out some seeds or something.
Hmm. Yeah, and when I hear you speak to that, it sounds like you're talking about how, on the one hand, everybody is kind of on their own journey, and there's something sacred about that, and on the other hand, there's a need for a kind of transformation to take place. And so, how do we create a context in which people sort of get turned on to that or something, and hold that tension between not wanting to like infringe on people's agency, and is that
Yeah,
kind of
that's kind of
okay?
the space. Yeah. Does anything come up
Yeah.
for you in that area?
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think this is a lot of where my love and passion for ethics is alive, right? And it is actually something I spoke about in, I think that episode that you mentioned where I kind of like stopped my podcast was the my sense, my story is that the way that culture shifts is through the revelation and embodiment of emerging values, right? So it's really becoming the kind of person who can totally embody service to all beings and then like be a beacon for that. You will, and I see this with Soryu, right? You just like, he doesn't have to tell you to go to Maple. You're just like, you're kind of like a moth. There's like some kind of latent
Yeah.
drawing quality to it that just
Yeah.
calls you for those who are, for those with ears to hear, so to speak. And so that's more like my, I mean, my dream, my vision, my kind of like the image that I've long had is of a kind of like signal or bat, like a kind of a bat signal, radio signal that was so obviously trustworthy that anybody who had the ability to hear it could be like, huh, ah, there it is. There's the signal.
If you enjoyed this clip, the full episode will be made available up here somewhere, so feel free to check that out. If you're someone that's interested in working one-on-one with me and developing your practice of presence, reflecting on your life at the moment, and calibrating your trajectory, then feel free to head over to todaydreamer.com and get in touch. There's also a full catalogue of episodes available on the website, which pretty much are there to help you cultivate the practice of presence so that you can more deeply participate in the blossoming of the emergent world story. So there's episodes on rituals, meditation, different ways you can cultivate presence, find meaning in life, working with psychedelics, and a whole host of other things that, surround spirituality and surround this idea of coming back to this moment right here and right now, and deepening almost like your connection with yourself and with others through intimacy, relational practices. There's a whole host of episodes. Feel free to check it out if you're into that kind of stuff. Anyways, thank you for your attention and for sharing this moment with me in the here and now. And until next time, be well.